The leather seats of my mother's Range Rover felt stiff beneath me as I sat outside the Blue Elm, Nashville's most prestigious Southern fusion restaurant. Through the tinted glass, I watched socialites glide through the mahogany-paneled doors, their laughter catching on the warm Tennessee air, their diamond necklaces flashing in the dusk light. 25 minutes ago, I had been walking toward those same doors, dressed in a custom navy dress tailored for my return. I was 36 now, and I hadn't been home in nearly 8 years. But none of that mattered. "Wait in the car," Mom had snapped, her grip vice-tight on my wrist. "We need this partnership, Reagan. We can't afford for anything to go wrong." By anything she meant me, Reagan Walsh, the family dropout, the one who left Walsh & Daughters real estate for a phase. That was their version of the story. I looked at my phone. 4 angry messages from my younger cousin Holly. "How dare you show up dressed like that? The Carmichaels are here. Don't ruin this. You always make it about you." And finally, "This deal will save the firm. You're being selfish." I actually laughed. If only they knew who really controlled Carmichael Holdings now. 8 years ago, I walked away from the Walsh legacy. I didn't scream. I didn't beg. I left my office keys on the desk and moved to Atlanta, where I started from scratch. A brokerage, a vision, and a client list that tripled in a year. Now, Walsh & Daughters was flailing, and Carmichael Holdings, my holding, was the lifeline they didn't realize had my signature on it. My phone buzzed again, this time from Lena, my chief of staff. "Papers are ready. Carmichael's acquisition of Walsh & Daughters will be announced after tonight's vote. You on your way?" I smiled and glanced in the mirror, adjusting a curl that had fallen loose. Timing. That's what Mom always preached. She was about to learn how right she'd been. I stepped out of the car, heels clicking confidently on the brick walkway as I approached the restaurant. The host looked up, startled, then softened. "Mrs. Walsh, would you like your regular table?" "Not tonight, Andrew." I nodded toward the private room. "I believe my family's dining with the Carmichaels." His eyes widened. "Yes, of course. Right this way." As we approached the room, I heard my mother's smooth, practiced voice. "We have always delivered. We are Nashville real estate." I opened the door. Everything fell silent. My mother froze mid-laugh, a fork still poised near her mouth. Her curls, as always, were styled to perfection, but the smile faltered. My cousin Holly and my brother Owen looked like they'd bitten into raw persimmons. And across from them, Everett Carmichael, Sr., chairman of Carmichael Holdings, rose from his seat with a quiet kind of reverence. "Madame Chair," he said, offering a respectful nod. "I had no idea this was your family." The silence hit like a thunderclap. "Everett," I greeted him, sliding into the empty chair at the head of the table, my mother's traditional seat. "I hope I'm not interrupting anything." "Reagan," Mom said, each syllable tight. What are you doing here?" "Having dinner with my family," I said evenly, unfolding my napkin. "And apparently my board partner." "Board partner?" Owen's voice cracked. "Wait, what are you talking about?" Everett glanced between them, a slow understanding washing over his face. "They don't know," he murmured. Know what? Mom's southern charm laced itself with cold steel. I pulled a leather folder from my structured bag and laid it gently on the table, sliding it across to Everett. "The acquisition documents are ready. I just need your signature, Everett." "Of course, Madam Chair." He reached into his inner pocket. "Stop!" Mom's palm slammed the table, rattling the wine glasses. "What is this?" "This," I replied softly, "is business. The kind you raised me in. Only I listened in ways you never expected." They stared at me like I was a ghost. The story of how I got here, how I went from the girl who threw away a legacy to the woman sitting across from the firm, trying to stay afloat, didn't start when I left Walsh & Daughters. It started much earlier, in the long shadow of my family's obsession with tradition. Real estate was gospel in our house. My grandfather built this empire from dirt roads and handshakes. My mother turned it into glass towers and prestige. At every meal, we discussed property lines, zoning ordinances, and million-dollar closings. My brother and cousin fit in easily, mimicking the moves and mantras like choreography. But I had questions. What about the future? Smart cities, blockchain deeds, virtual walkthroughs. They rolled their eyes. Real estate is about land, Mom would say, not gadgets. So I walked. I took my portion, less than half of what Owen received, and I bet it on PropTech. My first success? A company building AI-driven property valuation models. They called it luck. I called it vision. Now I was the one signing deals, and tonight I wasn't just joining the family dinner. I was closing it. Within 2 years, my returns were outperforming Walsh & Daughters by over 300%. But I stayed quiet. Everything I built operated through shell corporations and offshore holding firms. The name the industry came to fear, Mariner Capital, was anonymous by design. No face, no press, just results. A mysterious, rapidly ascending force in real estate tech that disrupted portfolios across the Southeast. When Carmichael Holdings announced they were opening to strategic partners, Walsh & Daughters thought they saw a lifeline, a way to recover their battered reputation. What they didn't know was that Mariner Capital had already acquired a controlling stake through layered micro-acquisitions across 3 quarters. The acquisition documents are a formality, I said calmly, watching my mother's fingers go stiff around her wine glass. Carmichael Holdings has technically been mine for 6 months. Owen choked on his drink. That's impossible. You don't have that kind of capital, Holly added, her voice shrill. You're bluffing. Mom whispered, as if the words hurt. Reagan, Mariner Capital. That's you? I turned toward her. The company you've been pitching proposals to every quarter? Yes. You've been trying to impress me. My mother's face drained of color. Everett Carmichael cleared his throat gently. She's not exaggerating. Since Mariner came on board, our valuation has tripled. Reagan's strategies have modernized our operations completely. Your daughter is a visionary. Mom's lips parted in disbelief. But you walked away, she said, her voice cracking. You threw away the family firm, your legacy. No, I replied. I built something better. While you were fighting to preserve the past, I was investing in the future. Smart tech, blockchain title registration, predictive real estate algorithms, AI tools that identify development trends before humans can blink. I turned to Owen, who looked like he'd been struck. Remember when you mocked me for going to that PropTech conference in Austin, said it was a waste of a plane ticket? No one spoke. My trading systems now manage more capital in a day than Walsh & Daughters moves in a fiscal quarter. Dad didn't say a word. He just sat there, quietly flipping through the acquisition documents with trembling hands. The paper was proof. The company he had come to beg for funding now belonged to the daughter he'd once told would never make it in the real world. Right on cue, the waiter reappeared with champagne. I'd arranged it in advance. As he poured, the silence around the table deepened. The moment was heavy, permanent. I lifted my glass, watching the tiny bubbles climb toward the surface. What happens now? Dad finally asked, voice hollow, eyes not quite meeting mine. I took a sip, then smiled. Now, I said, we discuss the future of Walsh & Daughters. And for the first time in years, they all listened. If this moment left you breathless, don't forget to subscribe. The next chapter reveals just how far Reagan is willing to go to reshape the legacy that once tried to silence her. I believe in keeping things in the family. The morning after that unforgettable dinner at the Blue Elm, I sat in my penthouse office atop the 45th floor of what was once Carmichael Tower. Now, it bore a new name, Walsh Innovation Center. Below me, downtown Nashville shimmered in the golden haze of early sunlight. The Cumberland River snaked quietly through the city, and the skyline was waking up, oblivious to the shift in power that had happened the night before. My phone hadn't stopped vibrating since dawn, 41 missed calls, dozens of texts, and a flood of emails from Walsh & Daughters board members. The revelation that Mariner Capital was owned by the wayward Reagan Walsh had rippled through every corner of the southern financial scene. Your brother is in the lobby, came Aria's calm voice. My AI assistant wired through the office speakers. He's refusing to leave. Would you like me to contact security? I glanced at the live security feed. Owen, looking frayed and far from his usual polished self, stood in the lobby clutching something. His blazer was rumpled, tie loose. Not the image of the confident heir he once believed himself to be. "Let him up," I said. "And Aria, cue the most recent valuation reports for Walsh and Daughters." Minutes later, Owen stormed into my office, holding a copy of the Tennessean. The headline blazed in bold: "Local Titan Unmasked. Reagan Walsh's Mariner Capital acquires Carmichael Holdings." "How long?" he demanded, slapping the paper on my desk. "How long have you been planning this?" I motioned to the visitor's chair. "Sit down, Owen. You look awful." "Don't patronize me." But he sat, dragging a hand down his face. "Mom hasn't slept. The board's panicked. Clients are calling nonstop asking if it's true you're shutting us down." "Are you asking if this is revenge?" I asked, pulling up a projection of live market data. "Your portfolios have been declining for years. Your digital systems are outdated. Your methods are traditional," Owen interjected. "And tradition works." "Tradition doesn't make money," I snapped. "While you were polishing the past, I was building the future. AI models, blockchain deed automation, predictive zoning analytics. You mocked what you didn't understand." He looked down. I stepped toward the glass wall, staring out at the sunrise. "Remember when I was 16? I built my first predictive model and pitched it to Dad. I spent weeks on that. You called it my cute little spreadsheet." Owen shifted, suddenly quiet. "We were kids," he murmured. "No," I replied. "You were the heir. I was the warning." And no one listened. "No," I said quietly, turning from the window. "You were the golden child, and I was the dreamer." When I brought ideas to modernize the firm, Dad laughed them off. When I warned you both about algorithmic zoning analysis and blockchain title security, you said I was chasing buzzwords. So yes, I left. But I didn't leave to destroy anything. I left to build something better. My phone buzzed, another notification from Aria. "Diana is in the lobby. Shall I let her up?" "Send her," I replied. A few moments later, my sister walked into the office. Cautiously, deliberately. Her heels echoed softly on the marble floors, eyes scanning the sleek interior and floating data streams. Her gaze lingered on the panoramic skyline. "This is impressive," she admitted. "Sit down, Diana," I said, gesturing toward the visitor's couch. "We need to talk about the future of Walsh and Daughters." She joined Owen, the two of them looking painfully out of place in the glass and steel reality I had crafted. I pulled up another display, the room bathing in light as real-time dashboards flickered to life. AI projections, zoning forecasts, digital escrow movement. "Let me show you what innovation looks like." They watched, speechless, as billions flowed across the screen. Land deals, logistics, neural trend mapping. "This is what I offered the family firm, and this is what Dad dismissed." "We get it," Owen snapped. "You made it. You win. What do you want, Reagan?" I didn't blink. "To save Walsh and Daughters." They stared. "But only," I continued, "if you're willing to evolve. Not lip service, real change." Before they could answer, Arya's voice returned. "Another visitor." We turned as the doors opened, and for the first time in my life, I saw Dad not as a symbol, but as a man. His gait was slower, his expression drained. In his hands, a worn leather folder. "I thought you might want these," he said, setting it gently on my desk. "Your proposals. Every idea you brought me, I saved them." "Dad, I was wrong," he said quietly, voice trembling, "so consumed with preserving your grandfather's firm that I ignored what you saw coming." Deanna stood. "What are you saying?" Dad exhaled slowly. "I'm saying that Walsh and Daughters needs Reagan, not as competition, but as its leader." Owen leapt up. "What? I'm the managing director." "The succession plan was flawed," Dad said, cutting him off. "Look around you. She built this while we stood still. She took a trust fund and turned it into the future. Meanwhile, Walsh and Daughters is bleeding clients," I said, pressing a button. The glass walls dimmed, and a wide screen unfolded behind me. "Let me show you something." Side-by-side charts came to life. one tracking Walsh and Daughter's slow decline, the other showing Mariner Capital's rapid ascent. Color-coded data scrolled across the screen, illuminated by algorithmic markers and quarterly projections. In just 5 years, I explained, Mariner achieved what Walsh and Daughters couldn't in 3 generations, not because I'm smarter, but because I was willing to evolve. Deanna's voice was soft. So, what's your plan? A complete transformation, I said. Walsh and Daughters becomes a division of Mariner Capital. Their faces froze. We integrate our AI systems, update infrastructure, retrain the team, and reposition the brand as a leader in proptech. Owen swallowed hard. And us? You have choices, I said evenly. You can cling to titles and watch this place collapse, or you can adapt. Start from the ground, learn the systems, earn your place in this new chapter. Dad slowly lowered himself into a chair. And me? You'll be chairman emeritus, advisory only. No final decisions. It's time to let go. He said nothing at first. Then, slowly, he nodded. Years of stubbornness giving way to the numbers in front of him. There's one more condition, I added. No more family hierarchy. They looked at me, confused. No more dismissing new ideas just because they're unfamiliar. No more assuming blood outranks vision. We build this together, or not at all. Silence settled. The national sun had risen fully now, gold brushing the skyline beyond my windows. A new day, figuratively and literally. Diana was the first to speak. Teach me, she said. Everything, the systems, the algorithms. I want to understand. Owen nodded slowly. Me too, but not shortcuts. I want to earn it. Dad stood, walking to the window. He looked older, but somehow lighter. I spent years forcing each of you into roles I designed, he said. But Reagan, you were the only one brave enough to refuse. Brave enough to build something on your own. He turned back to us. Maybe it's time we all find our own path. I pressed another button. Contracts appeared in holographic form across the screen. Welcome to the future of Walsh Innovation Group. One by one, they signed, not just documents, but a new legacy. 6 months later, I stood in the same office, watching Owen present his first AI-driven portfolio. Diana had revolutionized client experience using blockchain systems, and Dad, freed from control, had become a trusted mentor. The old sign was gone. In its place, Walsh Innovation Group, a division of Mariner Capital. Then my phone buzzed. A message from Dad. Family dinner tonight? Your pick this time. I smiled, thinking of that night at the Blue Elm. Yes, I replied. And this time, everyone has a seat. Because sometimes, success isn't about revenge. It's about rewriting the story and inviting others into the future you dared to imagine. If you felt even a part of my journey, if you've ever been underestimated, pushed aside, or told your vision was too much, then I invite you to stand with me. Share your thoughts in the comments. Tell me what you would have done, or what you are doing to reclaim your power. Your voice matters here. And remember, sometimes the best way to heal is not to fight the past, but to build something stronger beyond it. Subscribe if you're ready to rewrite your own legacy. Because the future doesn't wait, it's made by those brave enough to lead it.